Hello friends, welcome. My name's Allison, aka the Coffeenated Creative. I love everything art, planners, journals, and all the things between. Today, I am going to do a tutorial, one that a few folks have asked for around how I created my mini stamps. So for those of you who are new, welcome, so glad you're here. Consider subscribing and liking. For those of you who are back, thank you so much for all your support and for being back. Basically, these little stamps I use very regularly. I have a whole bunch of them, and they're one of my favorite tools. You can see how I use them in an example like this. So this was a recent page that I did, and see these little guys? Those are from these. And a lot of folks have asked, like, how did you do that? Etc. So I thought today I would show you. Now, here's the caveat. You can do this a lot of different ways. I'm hoping that this is just more of like an inspiration versus like an exact how-to. A, because you might not be able to find the exact same stuff that I have in my area. And B, because I actually don't have the exact same stuff that I always use because I couldn't even find it. So, for example, these little wood blocks, I couldn't find these. So I found an alternative that I'm excited to try and to create more with. So that's my disclaimer. If you are somebody who really wants like exact everything, I'm probably not your gal. But I'm going to give you a very, in-depth illustration of how I do it, and really with the hope that you just try it with whatever you can find. Okay? Okay. Yay. All right. So again, these are my little stamps. I have a bunch of them. See, here are some, and then here are some. So I created these, probably in about a little under a year ago. I also have coffee, so please bear with me. Okay. Awesome. All right. So the main modification from these that I just showed you that we're going to make, or I'm going to make today, is that instead of using those blocks, I'm actually using empty watercolor tins, plastic watercolor tins. Now, I actually got these because I purchased this watercolor tin for my bigger and fatter watercolors, and I didn't need these. And I had been kind of keeping my eye out for something that I could make little stamps with, since I couldn't find those little squares. And so that's what led to this. Now, you can probably find those little squares, and let me show you them again. They're just literally squares, okay? That's it. That's all they are. You can probably find these at the craft store, at the hardware store. I got mine at the dollar store. I live in Chicago in the Midwest of the United States, and I got mine at the dollar store. They used to have them all the time, and lately they have not had them. So I decided to just try something else. And what I'm trying are these empty watercolor pans. So what you're gonna need for this essentially is something really flat. That's important because, for example, if we look at one of these watercolor pans, there's actually a ridge. Do you see the ridge? That's not going to work very well. You want something that's truly, truly flat. Now, these little half pans, I think they're what they're called, are, perfect. And here it is an example of the final result. So I did one just to practice, and basically you've got the stamp on the one side, and you've got, a reference on the inside, which isn't ideal because it's of course slightly smaller. And then when you use it, you can have yourself a little stamp. So, you can do it all kinds of ways. That's what we're gonna do. All right, so you need some ink. The archival ink is great. Anything that you like that, won't bleed for a million years or smudge for a million years. You also need something to stamp, make your stamps on. So in this case, watercolor pans. You need some scissors, some nice scissors, sharper the better. And then you need your actual stamp material. Now for me, I use these foam letter stickers. Again, I get these at the dollar store, but really any kind of foamy, thin material is what you want. Now these are great because they have the adhesive on the back. So if you can find that, that's an extra bonus. But if you can't, then you can still do this. You would just have to, there'll be another step of the adhesive, which maybe I'll try to do. It might not work though. But anyways, so these are Crafters Squares foam letter stickers. Okay. Then you also need some paper, preferably sticker paper. This is matte white sticker paper, and this is what you use to create your reference so you know what you're stamping down the road. Okay. All right. So basically, this is super simple. You are going to take your really thin foam, and in my case, I'm actually going to take this top off. I'm going to look for, and this is why letters are so cool, I think, is because they already have some of the little patterns built in, right? So for example, it's kind of hard to see here, but there's this B, okay? In the B, in the inside of the B, there are pre-cut circles, okay? So I'm literally just going to take one of these, because this is already sticky, that's why it's so easy, taking the middle of the B and peeling off the sticker back, sticking it on, and there's one image of two. Now, in this situation, because I kind of want to, this is, the thing I like about this is they're a little bit bigger than my other ones, I want some more. So again, because there's multiple of these, I'm going to get this other bee, this pink bee, if you can see it. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pull out the little middles and stick them on. Okay. Now, usually, it's always a good rule of thumb in terms of design for you to do an odd number of like dots or whatever lines, but I don't really care about that for this because these are often used by me to create like repeats. Now, like for example, this R is another great middle. So I'm going to use that. And I don't care about them being like all the same size. I kind of like it when they actually go off the side because I think that that's fun and you can kind of create like a repeat. So let's leave this one right here. I'm cutting off the sides because obviously I don't need those. And is there anything else that I want? So can you see that? Basically, I've used the very thin foam to create a stamp. All right, so because I think that we'll leave this one right here. This is the basic of it, okay? So I'm just gonna give you guys the super basics and then I'll keep going, do some more fun stuff, but you can, this is it. So I'm now taking the stamp I've just created, using my stamp pad to activate it, and then I'm gonna see what I got, okay? Okay, fun. All right, and then I have this little, I always like to kind of, because it's foam, the ink's gonna really absorb in, but that's okay. So now I want to, be able to figure out what this is later. So I'm going to cut out. And one thing, if you have like already pre-cut like labels, like actual labels, these are perfect for that. That's actually what I used for my other ones. I only had to cut down a few of the sides because the labels were already pre-cut. And then, yeah, so the tricky thing about, the thing I don't love about the watercolor pan is that it's obviously a little bit smaller in the inside. But I mean, these are not used for precision art here, right? So it's not gonna bother me, but it won't be perfect in terms of, this is gonna look, in terms of if I'm eyeballing it when I'm trying to make my journal page, it's gonna stamp bigger than this image, but that's fine with me, but just know. So basically I stamped it, I cut it out, I'm making sure it fits, and this is the trickiest part with these watercolor pans. Yeah. And it's a really good idea to dry your stamp, like your paper in between, because you'll see I'm getting ink all over my hands. I don't care about that at all, but if that bothers you. And then this is kind of a helpful thing if you are using these watercolor pans. Just use a tool, some type of tool. Try to get it all the way to the edge, which can be a little bit tricky because it is sticky, right? Of course, it's going to be even more tricky than normal because I'm filming. But then you just stick it down, right? And now you've got your done stamp. So as you can see, it is a little bit bigger than the actual image. If you use a block like this, you're not going to have that problem because you can cut right to the edge, right? So with this one, for example, oops, that wasn't good, but you see. Okay, so those are some ideas for how to get dots. Now, you don't have to limit yourself to the, obviously, like, especially if you're not using letters, you're not going to have these like pre-cut out little images. So there's a few different ways that you can, you know, create different patterns. I really like just cutting the sides. So like, here we have a triangle now. Taking off the backing, putting it on my stamp. Oops, that was too big. That's okay. So if that happens, you literally just, okay, now we've got a different shape, right? And there we have it, right? So now I can do all kinds of fun stuff with this just by cutting out the little side. And I'm not stamping perfectly here, but you know, I'm just trying to give you the idea. Okay. The other thing that you can do is stripes. Stripes are really easy. You can cut out your own circles, of course, especially if you have like various tools. Okay. So for example, if you have a hole punch, right, you can actually use your hole punch. Now, unless it's a really new, nice, sharp punch, it's probably not going to be perfect. Like this one's not perfect, right? But that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. And it's just giving you the size. It's giving you a start, I guess you could say. And then you can, like in this one, it punched kind of crazy, but I'm just going to clean up the edges because I don't want it to be too wonky. And now I have a little dot. I'm going to do that with, oh, that one's not good because I took the backing off. And the one thing nice about having like a bigger foam that's not letters is that you can do this a lot easier because part of the issue is that I'm trying to get between the letters. And so the foam is not taut. Okay. So here we have another one. And not all of them are going to be like the, you know, amazing, obviously. Some, like even with the ones I made, there's some I don't really use because I don't love the pattern. But the cool thing is that if you find something like unused paint pans or, you know, cheap little cubes, like it doesn't matter if they're not all amazing, right? Because it's almost like you create a bunch to see which ones you actually like fit your style. Okay. So this one, so of course these aren't like perfect circles here, even though I did use a hole punch, but they're a pattern. So what, you know, I'm cool with it. Let's try it out though. Okay. So I'm going to take my stamp pad again, and I'm going to show you that putting the middle in again. Taking my stamp pad. This is a little bit of an old stamp pad, so it's not ideal, but now, you know, it's pretty cool, right? I like it. I'm going to use this one. So that's what you want. You just want something that, you know, is neat. And what I love about these little stamps is like, there's that moment a lot of the times, oh, let me actually do what I just said. There's that moment a lot of the times when you're journaling, when you're just like, oh, I need like a little something else. Like I need a little something more. And I find that these are perfect for that. When I just want to add a little bit of color or a little bit of pattern, I don't want to use washi. You know, they go great over watercolor. They go great over really anything. I mean, of course, it depends on your ink pad. And I'll talk about that a little bit after I do this. And I'll do a few more just for fun. I'm laughing at myself trying to trying to do a tutorial, but that's what this is all about, in my opinion. This community, just sharing things we figured out. So I'm not trying to be Martha Stewart up in here, acting like I'm building an empire. It's more just, hey, maybe you should try this out. And if you've got stuff or you've come across videos where you've seen really cool ideas, like, please send them my way, because I love this kind of stuff. Okay, so I put it in there. Let's see if it's gonna work. Oh, and I'm taking this little tool. You could use anything though. But yeah, okay, great. So it worked. Boom. Now I know I can refer to my image later. And here again are just a few other examples I'll stamp for you so that you can kind of get some ideas. So these are just lines, which I showed you earlier, right? We've got the triangles, we've got dots, which I love the dots. I think that they worked so great in repeat. Like, just neat in my opinion. We've got our little wonky polka dots. We've got wonky polka dots. And then you'll see with these ones, I cut out, like, this is where I really use like the sides of the different letters, but I also cut out like really random shapes. Like, for example, this one, oh, it's kind of stuck in here. Wow. Whoops. This one, oh my gosh. Wow, it's really stuck in here. Of course, because I'm trying to show you. But this one's kind of weird, but it's kind of neat too. Like, so even if it's like a weird pattern, you might wind up like being like, wow, you know, it looks, you know, one of the principles, I suppose, of design is repeat, meaning like things that are repeated tend to be really visually interesting. So even if it looks like maybe something that you wouldn't actually use, right? I'm just gonna put these out while I finish talking, but even if it looks like something that you wouldn't really use very often, like it looks really weird, give it a try, because it might end up looking cool. This one I actually really like. It's a triangle and then a little triangle, so you can like vary up the pattern. This one's probably one of my favorites, which I've basically recreated here. And yeah, so that's it. And last but not least, I'll just tell you, one of my favorite types of ink to use, these types of archival inks do bleed through most paper, at least to my experience, which, you know, can be completely fine. Nothing is, you can always just fix it. But these Distress Oxide ink, oh, sorry about that. That's a loud car. These do not bleed. They take forever to dry, but they do not bleed. So these are really fun, especially if you want to get some color and you're, you know, don't want it to bleed through. These can be really awesome in terms of ink pads. Yeah. So do you have any ideas? Give me some ideas in the comments. Does this seem helpful, useful, doable? Very curious. I hope it makes sense. I hope it's clear and inspiring. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, for journaling, for commenting, for liking, for subscribing, all that stuff. Absolutely. It makes me want to keep doing this. So I really, really appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a great day, night, morning, wherever you are, whenever you see this. I truly do. I'm sending you so much joy and love and journaling vibes. All right. Have a good one. Bye.